Hey, and welcome to another installment of Catching Up with Chris, Jake, and Sam.
And I'm Chris.
And I'm Jake. You never actually said I'm Sam.
I know. I realized that.
You just looked at
You
me
looked at us like,
why didn't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, I looked at it and I saw like Chris kind of like wait for it, and I was like, "Fuck."
Sitting there with my mug about to sip.
Well, no, Chris-
because I was like, oh, yeah, I'm about to say my name.
I got to give Chris props. He took it matters into his own hands.
Took
When
the
I'm Chris.
Yeah, and for those playing at home, I'm Sam. Yeah. So
But then again, if you don't know us by now, thank you for joining us.
yeah, thank you for joining us.
Every episode is someone's first episode.
Every
as I learned from Stanley.
yeah, every issue is someone's first comic. Yeah. So something that's happened recently. Marvel has announced that they've not used the word reboot.
No.
They're not pulling a new 52, so far as we can tell, which is what DC.
Their marketing is not pulling a new 52.
Yes. So like 3 years ago, for those of you not in the know, and it isn't the first time DC Comics has done this. It's probably, but so they had this comic book event called Flashpoint. Flash changes history, and it basically reboots the continuity of the DC Comics universe that had existed. Well, again, I say they've done it before because the first time they did it was in 1985 with the Crisis on Infinite Earths, where they took their 50 years of continuity and basically all the parallel Earths and brought it down to just one. So the Justice Society was no longer on Earth 2. Uncle Sam and the Freedom Fighters were no longer on Earth X. Captain Marvel and Shazam was no longer on Earth S.
There were only one version of heroes like Superman and Batman.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're all merged. They all became one thing. And then it was like a every decade thing because 10 years later they had 0 Hour, where it wasn't a complete line-wide reboot.
Yeah, that was more of like a soft like restructuring of certain backstories and stuff like that.
So they tried to fix the backstory of Hawkman, and they somehow made it more convoluted. But
Good old Hawkman.
Yeah, but some things that also came about because of 0 Hour, Batman never found his parents' killer. That was for me, one of the biggest changes coming out of 0 Hour.
And I actually like that a little bit more. I feel like that gives a little bit more credence as to why he continues fighting crime. Like I feel like he probably still would have been Batman, but it makes more sense to me that like if he catches his parents' killer, he would be satisfied and maybe not as driven to be Batman.
Right. So 10 years later, during the Infinite Crisis by Jeff Johns and Phil Jimenez and George Perez,
Chris's dad, George Perez.
they recreate the multiverse. That was the big change that came with the Infinite Crisis. And they basically, one of the changes, again, not a line-wide reboot like the Crisis on Infinite Earths, but so Batman caught his parents' killer. He caught Joe Chill in that continuity. Superman, who after Crisis on Infinite Earths Clark Kent didn't start being Superman in post-Crisis continuity until he was an adult.
Yeah, his powers manifested as he was older, right?
Well, and he just never is Superboy in Smallville. And yeah, it's more. I feel like it's more gradual.
Yeah, I want to say in the Man of Steel comics after Crisis, the first 6 issues or whatever, it kind of jumps to when he's a teenager and he's like, oh. I have super strength now.
The first issue opens up with him winning the football game.
Yeah, and he's going through, and his dad's telling him, Podcasts telling him different times where like he thinks he's gonna get run over by like what is it, a tractor or deer,
a thresher,
thresher, and then he's playing fetch with his dog, and it's one of my favorite Superman panels where he's walking backwards and dogs jumping on him like dogs do, kind of playing with you, and he's walking back and he looks down, and he's no longer on anything. He's standing on thin air. And then he flies for the first time. But yeah, like Sam said, John Byrne eliminated the idea for Superboy.
And that's something that came back post-Infinite Crisis, the idea that... And of course, yeah, the big change was the multiverse was a thing again, which was nice, because I always liked the idea of parallel universes. I felt that they were kind of hamstrung by, like, everything has to take place in this one continuity. But to get back to... And then... Not even a decade later, 6 years later, they rebooted, or 5 years, 5 years later, they rebooted continuity again, as extensive as they had on the Crisis on Infinite Earths. Line-wide reboot. Superman's parents are now, Clark Kent's adoptive parents, the Kents, are now dead, which is something that, they had originally died in the Golden Age, and they were revived post-Crisis on Infinite Earths. He's only been Superman for about 5 years. His marriage with Lois Lane and his relationship with Lois Lane is completely platonic. As of
pretty much everyone's all marriages are gone.
Yes, except for Animal Man's.
Oddly enough.
Yeah.
Oh, good old Animal Man.
Because I feel like Animal Man, the family life is such a big important.
That's what stands him apart from a lot of superheroes and makes him interesting.
And I feel like more or less like he, that was a driving, that was a driving factor of his things. Whereas like the Superman marrying Lois, that was more of like a selling point for comics. Like that was like more of a publicity stunt to get people to buy that issue.
And it was to tie into their marriage on Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman, which was on TV at the time. Yeah. And that was such a big deal. That was a big show. I remember watching that show every Sunday night with my family.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so to touch on what Marvel's been doing, they've announced this summertime event, Secret Wars, where it basically takes all these different Marvel continuities. You've got Civil War continuity. You've got it's almost like a greatest hits, right? Of like the Marvel universe. You've got Armor Wars, which is one of the greatest Iron Man stories of all time.
Kind of like your Beatles fan fiction.
Yes, exactly. Which, if you listen to last week's episode, you'll know all about that.
And if you haven't, now you have a reason to go back and listen to it.
Yes,
Beatles fan fiction, and it actually sounded amazing. I kind of want to read it.
It was basically, it was my love letter to all eras of the Beatles. But this is, they've got a continuity where it's Spider-Man married with a kid. Mm-hmm. They've got on the surface, though, they're like, the big thing is the main Marvel universe is combining with the Ultimate Marvel universe, which in my mind sounds like the only things that are going to survive are Samuel L. Jackson, Nick Fury, and Miles Morales from the Ultimate universe. Everything else in the Ultimate universe is probably just going to go the fuck away.
Yeah,
which I'm fine with.
Pretty much.
The Ultimate Marvel universe outside of Miles Morales, Ultimate Spider-Man, hasn't been good since...
Yeah, what were they going to keep brain matter throughout his entire body, Iron Man? Do they even still have that? That was one of the first Ultimate story arcs.
Ultimate Iron Man by Orson Scott Card.
Like, I want to say that was like the thing that kickstarted the Ultimate Universe. Or was the Ultimates the thing that...
Ultimate Spider-Man was first. And then after that, Ultimate X-Men by Mark Miller, who, of course, has gone on to write, not just for Marvel.
I don't know anything about the Ultimate Universe.
Miller World.
Miller World. But yeah, he's gone on to write Kingsman, Secret Service, which is going to be, in theaters next month.
I can't wait for that.
Yeah, or this month.
Yes.
What else is it? Wanted is something else. Of course,
Superior, which is one of my favorite things ever.
Kick-Ass.
Yeah, Kick-Ass.
But yeah, so the order was Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate X-Men, The Ultimates by Mark Miller, and Ultimate Fantastic Four. So yeah, I feel like they've strayed away from saying reboot. And in the press conference that they had at Midtown Comics, the editors straight up said, we never thought our continuity was something that needed to be fixed. So I think continuity is still going to exist, but it's going to be almost like Crisis on Infinite Earths, in that you're going to get these worlds that smash together and form this like singular continuity. One, it's probably going to be closer to the movies. It already is kind of...
Well, I mean, that's what I feel like they're going to. They're going to the movies and the comics all coming together and everything's connected. Because, I mean, they've kind of already hinted at that with... spoilers if anyone hasn't read the Axis stuff yet. But, they're basically revealing stuff about Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver not being related to Magneto.
Yeah.
Which is, I guess, their way of saying that they're not mutants and making the Inhuman element of the Marvel universe being a thing. And because
that X-Men movies
in the Marvel cinematic universe, you can't say mutant
or reference Magneto.
So, and Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver are in Age of Ultron 2, or I'm sorry, Avengers 2 Age of Ultron. And I think one of the things it's going to be is that they're not mutants, they're Inhumans. I mean, again, speculation, but I mean, it seems like that's what they're going for, which is making some people upset. But I was thinking about it, like, imagine if that's what happens. Imagine if this big, all these events come together, and it makes the movie's continuity like the thing that is followed in the comics, and it's all together as one. Like 50 years from now, like kids are gonna grow up knowing, all of these things through the movies and the comics, as opposed to knowing, as opposed to knowing of a time or really reading of a time before all that. Which, you know what, it's kind of weird to think about, but it's kind of cool at the same time. Like they're going to have their own kind of era, their own age. You know,
whenever I was like introduced to a comic character through their movie, like and then I would go back and read the books.
Yeah,
even knowing that it's supposed to kind of be its own thing, like it still threw me off when there were big glaring differences between the book and the movies. So this might be good for like, new readers, or it's definitely going to be good for new readers.
Do you ever see, Jake, since you work at a comic book store, do you see an uptick of interest in certain properties when they get?
Oh, absolutely. And it's actually really fun because the one character that I've seen that has become more popular than any other character when a kid comes in the shop. When I say kid, boy or girl, usually like a young kind of like, I don't know, elementary age, old enough to read comics and old enough to get some of the stuff. The one character that reigns supreme is Shazam over everybody else. And I think that's so cool. And I remember one of the guys I worked with, this kid was coming around. He goes, "Hey, what do you have for Shazam?" We had some statues, and unfortunately, there's not a lot of books that we have, like pure Shazam stuff, and a lot of it's older. And the problem is, whenever a kid sees like an older book, they're just not interested. But Jeff Johns did a kick-ass New 52 Shazam book that I love, and it's been selling really well. And so we asked this one kid, we're like, why do you like Shazam? Like, why is he your favorite? He was just like, well, he's a kid who becomes a superhero and does the right thing, and and he knows what's right and wrong. And I remember like that it was that simple, And that's another thing I think a lot of times.
I think Shazam or Captain Marvel. We've debated the name. Anyway,
yeah.
Billy Batson. I think the key appeal of Billy Batson is he's the ultimate in wish fulfillment.
Oh yeah,
he's a little kid that just says one word, becomes a superhero.
That's because the kids who are coming in are that age, or a little bit older, but that age, the mindset of Billy Batson, and it's cool because. We love talking comics and we love dissecting comics and what ifs and whatever. But a lot of these kids, you know why they like it? Because they like it. They don't care about anything else. They love Shazam. They love Deadpool. They love Batman. They love Superman, and they love whatever characters. All kinds of popular characters. But to get back to what you're saying, when they announced what's the most recent thing? Ant-Man. Kids are coming in going crazy for Ant-Man stuff. Now, unfortunately...
Is that number one selling really well?
Oh, number one sold out first day. And that was easy because I read the first Ant-Man. We talked about this before. And it's fantastic. A fantastic first issue. And Hank Pym stuff, you don't know if you want a lot of like young kids reading Hank Pym stuff because it's pretty intense. But that's something. You get a lot of kids. And even if it's something that's not available, we don't have it, or there's not much of that out there, that you can feel like the pulse of that character like rising. And it's happening a lot with Civil War. A lot of people are asking for Civil War too, because Cap 3 is pretty much going to be Civil War. So it is cool seeing that. And it's funny because back in the day it was like you just watch a trailer and get excited, and now it's like when we see a trailer at the comic shop, we know make sure to order a bunch of Civil Wars, the trade paperbacks, or make sure to stock the shelves with Ant-Man like crazy, or even Age of Ultron in name only, but a lot of Avengers and Ultron type titles are really starting to sell really well. But there's been a buzz throughout the shop like crazy, like what does this mean for Marvel? And most of it is the older school generation and fans who want nothing to do with the movies and the comics being the same thing in the same universe. And they're terrified that's what's going to happen, because with Fantastic Four, Marvel's weeding out Fantastic Four from
they're canceling the book.
Yeah, and because the movie's coming out. And you think, Spider-Man, obviously, he sounds like he's getting to be more, with the MCU universe or Marvel movie universe.
It's because Disney has the merchandising rights.
Yeah. But, with X-Men, X-Men's a huge title, but what if this weird thing with, Fantastic Four works? They shut out Fantastic Four, and they go, you know what? The Inhumans movie, let's say it's 2019, the Inhumans movie comes out, and then the Inhumans become the next big thing, and they're like, you know what? We don't need to be wasting all this time on and they're not wasting time, but we don't need to be publishing all these X-Men books, because we have the Inhumans and we built this universe now, and the mutants are their own thing with Fox. Like, what if it gets to a point like that? And I think it's unfair because...
honestly, from a business standpoint, even if Fox has the cinematic rights to X-Men, X-Men have been Marvel's. That's what saved Marvel in the 90s.
Yeah, but Fantastic Four is what made Marvel a Marvel thing, and they're getting rid of Fantastic Four for that same reason.
Yeah, but Fantastic Four doesn't put up sales numbers regularly.
It doesn't, but like think of what Fantastic Four means to the Marvel.
I mean, it's what makes Marvel.
And
Yeah.
now this is something where they're like, you know what, we're fine. We'll cancel it. We'll hush it, put it under the rug, and we got other stuff to worry about now. And if that's now at this age, if that's what it's getting to, what's it going to be like 10 years down the line with X-Men? If X-Men is still kicking ass with Fox, and like I said, the Inhumans becomes the next big thing, or Guardians, or Nova, or cosmic stuff, and they're like, we don't need X-Men for this. I mean, this is just all hypothetical, of course. I mean, I'm not saying Marvel doesn't give a shit about X-Men. Obviously, they do. They have like some of the highest selling books, But I don't know. It's interesting to think about that, because if 50 years ago, if you said one day, hey, we're not going to need Fantastic Four anymore because we're going to have other titles, it's not going to sell very well, and we're not going to have rights to the movie, so we don't need it, they would have laughed in your face because Fantastic Four was the shit. Not the case anymore.
Yeah. I mean, here's how I feel about comic book continuity. Have you ever heard the term homeostasis?
Mm-hmm.
For those of you who don't know, it means dynamic equilibrium. Like, your body's always changing, but there's a sense of homeostasis. There is a self-regulating status quo that deals with these changes as your body ages. I feel the same way about comic book continuity, because at the end of the day, those sterling elements, those important elements and stories about your favorite comic book characters are going to be there. They balance out. Now, in the short term, I mean, one of the great things, I mean, I was kind of shocked by how drastic Superman was different coming into the New 52.
Oh yeah.
I like the Kents being alive.
I do too.
And I understand that, and we've talked about this before. I understand they're trying to isolate him more and make him feel more alien. But
they keep bringing more Kryptonians back, and it's like, well, what are you doing?
What's the point?
Yeah.
Jeff Johns' first issue of Superman, where they're passing those headlines, and you still see those classic Superman headlines, and it's just like everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
In the long run.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I'm playing devil's advocate with all the Marvel stuff.
Yeah.
Because for me, continuity, it doesn't, and you get so many people who get hung up on
what stories
that word.
matter.
Yeah. And for me, it doesn't matter because it's not the Mission Impossible, this will self-destruct after you read it kind of shit. You can always go back and you can always read Pre-New 52. You can always read whatever, like same with music too. People complain about music not being as good or whatever. You could always go back and listen to the music you love. You can always go back and read the comics you love. And going back to Superman, a great thing about that issue too is like Jeff Johns just breathes life into Superman when he writes them. You know? And you feel like everything's going to be okay. One, because of all those great things, and two, because you got a guy like Jeff Johns who still believes in that stuff.
Now, some of your guys' favorite Superman stories, because we're, I guess, using Superman as the big example, which is fine, is Man of Steel. John Byrne's Man of Steel.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Imagine if you were a comic book reader our age in 1986, and because it's drastic.
Absolutely.
It's no longer like Big Brother or Daddy Superman. It's Superman like in his mid-20s, figuring shit out, and the Kents are still alive, which is a big change at the time. And it's no longer like this like Archie, Veronica, Betty situation with Lois Lane and Lana Lang. It's very
he straight up like devastates Lana Lang in that
that issue 6
that when he's like I can't remember what the exact line is, but you kind of like open the world to me and then you shut the door in my face by telling me you're Superman, like leaving me here. Superman's way less powerful than he was. I mean he's still Superman
in Man of Steel.
Man of Steel,
he can no longer move planets.
No, he has to hold his breath in space. Which is like, he has to hold his breath.
And so
fucking fly in space.
Yeah,
but
but for all those people that are worried, like, this is how they're going to remember. This is how they're going to remember the X-Men. This is how they're going to be how they remember Spider-Man or Iron Man or the Fantastic Four. It's like, this is just a gateway. I mean, you guys that was your gateway into Superman, right?
Yeah.
And what would you say? Like maybe,
for me, it was Death of Superman.
Yeah, I mean that was the first comic book issue I ever bought. But that's the origin, the Superman origin.
Yeah, that's the Superman that I know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you know what? That just served as a gateway to all Superman.
Yeah.
You know, at least in comic form. I think I was watching like Adventures of Superman or Superman the movie first. But yeah,
Well,
that's...
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And one of the big questions that always comes working at a comic shop is, where do I start? And there are some good places to start for certain characters. But my thing is always, just look, find a character you love, find a story you love, and go from there. It's you can go, and I think a lot of people are so worried about, like, is it gonna make sense? Is it gonna, and the whole idea of, like, every issue is the first issue for somebody. We were saying it's the same thing, and I think people are getting super worried and about continuity. And, like, in the end of the day, just a word, man. Like, for me, the Superman origin story is still the Man of Steel.
Yeah. And no matter what, there's always going to be blank spaces that you have to fill in. Like when I started reading Superman, one of the most helpful things was where those little asterisks with the little blurb that says, "Hey, to figure out what we're talking about, go check out this issue." And I, would check out that issue because, like, whatever they were talking about seemed important or seemed interesting to me, and I'd read it, be like, "Oh, cool," and then from there I would find another story arc that I would collect all those issues, read that whole thing. Find this event, find that event, read this, read that, and that's how I built my web of knowledge for all the characters, not just Superman, but all of them.
I mean, again, Marvel hasn't said they're straight up rebooting either.
Yeah.
I think it's still going to exist in some form. It's just going to be...
I mean, granted, the tagline was "Everything ends."
Well, it's
all men must die.
It's an attention grabber.
Yeah.
It's an attention grabber, man. It's like saying that Superman dies. Yes, he dies, but he comes back.
Yeah.
Just like I feel the same way. You know what reboot I am looking forward to? Archie.
Oh, yeah. Predator?
Well, not Archie Meets the Predator, though.
Oh.
The cover art for that, or promo art, is
pretty
like,
awesome.
Yeah.
Archie coming back to life?
No, not even Afterlife with Archie. They're Mark Waid, who, if you've ever listened to this podcast before, on an episode where he happened to be talking about Mark Waid, I love Mark Waid. I love Mark Waid almost as much as I love Scott Eastwood.
Close.
A lot.
Yeah.
For completely different reasons.
Yes.
The ball. The
Who are you talking about?
Scott Eastwood.
Okay.
The he's rebooting Archie Comics.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I don't know, I've never been... I remember seeing issues of Archie or, like, collections at, like, the grocery store or supermarket, like, where they have those, like, TV guide magazines and stuff, like, right above the checker conveyor belt. And as a kid, it never interested me.
Yeah.
Because so far as I can tell, most Archie stories just kind of center on this love triangle with him and Veronica and Betty.
Yeah, that's what I always got, too, and I was just like... Why?
Did you ever read it?
No.
But that was the impression.
Yeah, like I would see the covers and be like, no. This looks like a girl comic.
Kind of, yeah. It would always be like these two girls like tugging on Archie, and it's like, well...
Yeah, it just seemed like romantic comedy, and I was never interested in romantic
comedy from like the 50s, because they still dressed like they lived in the 50s.
Milkshake shop and...
I read Hack Slash, which is a great series, and they had a couple issues where they invaded like a parody of the Archie universe, and they would they would like the first couple pages would just be drawn like Archie, and then like the Hack Slash characters would come in and be like, wait, what the fuck is going on? Why do I look like this? And like it was like some demon controlling the town or something like that.
There was a one-off in the 90s where he teams up with the Punisher.
Nice.
Really?
Yeah, Archie Meets the Punisher. Google that if you don't believe me. And you'll get... I mean, the icon in the top left corner is the Punisher skull, but with Archie eyes. It's awesome, and I think it's got freckles, too.
Kiss has also been in Archie comics.
Yeah, Kiss met Howard the Duck, too. But an interesting thing about like the whole like everything ends idea, and yes, nothing truly ends in a comic book, but... The interesting thing about
comic books are like, life, death, and rebirth.
The interesting thing about Star Wars, for example, is it did end with Dark Horse, which pissed some people who worked at the shop off, and people have come in because they spent years and years and lots of money buying books and comics, building and expanding on this universe outside of the Star Wars movies, only to have the rights go back to Marvel and all that stuff be fan fiction now. But again, it goes to our point too at the same time where it's like you could always go back and read them and still have that be your Star Wars universe. But it kind of sucks that officially, that's no longer
because there's movies
the case.
Yeah.
Now Marvel's starting over again, and all that darker stuff is gone. So I've met some people who refuse to have anything to do with the new Superman stuff, Star Wars stuff, because of that very fact.
To be fair, I'm glad that Spider Robot Leg Darth Maul is no longer canon. That was something that was in the Dark Horse comics.
I think the big thing I was
that's probably the only thing that is readily available to my mind.
Yeah,
that I'm glad is
yeah.
out.
It was different for me. Star Wars is kind of a different thing. I'm of two minds of them scraping the continuity clean, because if the expanded universe still exists, then you know exactly where Star Wars goes.
Yeah, I like the idea in movies of being totally, and I've touched on this before, like with my hatred of spoilers and stuff like that. Like I like not knowing what's going to happen in the movie that I'm about to watch. I like being surprised. So as much as like things like the Thrawn trilogy and
Dark Empire,
the Young Jedi Knight or Jedi Knight Academy, whatever the hell it was called. As much as those stories were great, I kind of like the idea that maybe we'll get some picking and choosing. Like hopefully Mara Jade is still in it. Hopefully the kids, the young Solo kids are still like kind of there in some facet, but not necessarily exactly like they were in the books, because then it's gonna be. It probably won't be boring, but like it won't be as exciting as it could be, where you go in there and you just like, what's gonna happen next? Who's this dude with the crossed lightsaber?
Yeah. I mean, there's certain things I mourn too. Certainly, the Thrawn trilogy I think is almost if not on the hot top of everybody's expanded universe list, it's pretty darn close.
It's number one in my heart.
Yeah, Shadows of the Empire. That's and maybe it's still it's between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. Maybe Lucas, please, or JJ, please.
Nope.
No.
They canceled it all, man.
Yeah, but yeah. So I was of two minds about Star Wars. I mean, there's some great stories that are no longer canon, but
much like Two-Face.
Kind of, but not.
We are of two minds.
Yeah, yeah. God,
but like I said,
sorry. Whenever I hear that, I just think of Tommy Lee Jones.
It's a reoccurring thing throughout, like especially this podcast. I will say it's like, but you can always go back and read it again. It's to me, it's just the most fascinating stuff out of all of this is if the idea of is Marvel going to rewrite things to get rid of certain things so they can rewrite and rework it to put it in the movies, a la Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, like because they've already done that. So I don't know if that's what they're trying to do. That's just weird. That's just weird to me. If you're gonna, I mean, and again, you're not getting rid of the characters, obviously, but why? They're obviously not making a mutant. And
also they just did Marvel Now too, which wasn't even a soft reboot, but it was.
They've been launching new titles all along.
Yeah. Like it seems weird to.
And then they relaunched number ones during the middle of Marvel Now.
Yeah, and then there was all new Marvel Now, which was just more new titles. Not really.
So I don't know. It's interesting. Yeah. We'll see down the line what happens, but it's fascinating to me that Marvel's almost doing like a Terminator thing, like going back in time,
which I'm still excited for.
Canceling out stuff so so they can put it in their movies and get away with saying mutant but not saying mutant. I don't know. It's weird, but yeah. In the grand scheme of things, you can always just pick up a comic and read it. That's what it's there for. Pick it up and read it. Don't worry about
man.
In the long run. Don't worry about all that kind of nonsense. Just pick it up and read it and enjoy it and love the characters. That's the main thing.
It's gonna be good. Would you say one last thing before we move on? Would you say that the Secret Wars is kind of Marvel's long game reaction to the New 52?
Oh, I think so. I think absolutely it is because it's weird. Doesn't it seem like Marvel and DC are always doing the opposite things?
Mm-hmm. Kind of. I mean,
Or they always seem to be reacting to each
Well,
other.
they're
maybe
very,
not necessarily opposite
they're very
things,
reacting.
but
Well, it's like Marvel's like, hey, the TV shows, the comics, and the movies are all going to connect, and DC is like, well, the TV shows and the movies are opposite for us.
I think for them, though, it's just kind of a matter of we need to get this shit out. We need to flood the market
mm-hmm.
and build that
too,
brand
and
awareness.
they can build
Or-
multiple multiverse on DC's, and they can spin it as that.
Not to mention, Warner Brothers doesn't really have. They've got the CW,
Mm-hmm.
but CW can't handle an entire slate.
I can barely handle the 2 shows that it has.
Yeah, well, soon to be 3 with iZombie.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm kind of excited for. It's got Alex Krinsky or something.
Well, the showrunner is
yeah.
the same guy, the same showrunner from Veronica Mars.
Yeah. Oh, nice. I didn't know that. But yeah, it's the one of the lead ladies in it. It was one of the original daughters on Last Man Standing, which was Tim Allen's newer Home Improvement, where he has daughters instead of sons.
Does he still have a neighbor that hides behind a fence?
No, but he does have a black neighbor who they constantly are making almost like Wild Wild West, but not as blunt, like kind of like backhanded, like, ha, you're white, I'm black stuff, too. So I guess that's the same thing.
I guess. Let me get my cardigan sweater.
Yeah. Check your local listings for that one, guys.
Yeah.
It's a funny show. I like it.
Yeah.
But for whatever, I don't even know what it was, but like between season 1 and 2, one of the daughters got replaced by a different actress, and I was kind of sad because the original actress was like my favorite, character on the show. She's going to be an iZombie, so hooray!
There you go. But yeah, I feel like the
Also, her husband, or not husband, but her baby daddy was like Nick Jonas.
Oh, okay. Huh.
And he got replaced too.
Yeah, Jonas is laying down pipe all over the world. The
with his commitment ring.
I guess, yeah. I think the advantage that Disney has is, apart from just having the film studio like Warner Brothers, they have ABC.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the big 4, So and they've got a very tight relationship. I feel like,
and they also have all the Disney channels too, because like Disney XD has the Spider-Man cartoon.
Yeah, Web Warriors and Hulk Agents of Smash and Avengers Assemble.
Yeah,
but they have also got a really tight relationship with Netflix.
Yeah, that's true.
I feel like Warner Brothers has one too, because Arrow, as soon as the season ends, right there on Netflix. They've already signed off on a similar deal for Gotham. I'm hoping they do something for the Flash.
I'm sure they
will.
Yeah. If Arrow has a deal, then it's almost guaranteed that the Flash will have the same deal.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of CW shows in general.
Yeah.
Vampire Diaries,
Supernatural.
Oh yeah. They always update that.
Gilmore Girls.
Yeah. Whereas when it comes to
don't laugh,
Bunheads.
No Bunheads.
Yeah, but no. I don't think Bunheads.
Sadly, Bunheads is not.
Is that not CW?
That's ABC Family.
Well, we'll see them in a Marvel movie.
Get that Sutton Foster fix in a Marvel film.
And then there's a weird crossover with Sin City, since what's her name was in the first Sin City.
Oh, Alexis Bledel.
Yeah. Weirdos, and you're loving Gilmore Girls.
It's a great show.
But yeah, now we've touched on Jake's cinematic marathons in the last 3 episodes.
Yeah,
Chris, you had a bit of a marathon yourself.
Yeah. So if you remember, a couple episodes ago, I said that I was binging on Futurama, and after I finished that, I was kind of going around the ether trying to find my next hook. I tried rewatching 30 Rock, and it just doesn't click with me. I tried catching up with It's Always Sunny, and I like It's Always Sunny, but it's hard for me to like really get into those characters. Like there's nobody that I really root for, so I can only watch a handful of
Mac.
episodes. Mac
and
is funny.
Charlie.
Mac is great.
Mac and Charlie are like my 2 favorite characters on it, but it's still such an awkward show. Like I can't. So
I can do It's Always Sunny over the League. I feel that way about the League.
I used to be able to marathon the shite out of the League.
I can do a season in a sitting for the League. But anyway, so what I did end up doing was I spotted a 3-in-1 pack at a local department store for 3 Ernest movies. Ernest Goes to Camp, Ernest Saves Christmas, and Ernest Goes to Jail, which are 3 of the best. ended up.
If you tack on Scared Stupid.
Yeah. My two favorite are Goes to Jail and Scared Stupid, leaning more towards Goes to Jail just because it's a live action cartoon. But so I realized I was like, there's several Ernest movies that I've actually never seen. Like I grew up as Ernest, on like the back burner for like everything else that I was watching. But I realized I've only seen like 3 or 4 of the movies, and there are at least 8 of them. So I decided to do an Ernest movie marathon, and I found all the Ernest movies that I could, and that's including this technically the first cinematic appearance of Ernest. It's a movie called Dr. Otto and the Gloom Riddle, or something along. It's Dr. Otto and blah 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 blah. Ernest is only in it for like 2 minutes, but Jim Varney, the guy that plays Ernest, is the bad guy. And anyone that knows me, I love seeing good guys be the bad guys. And Jim Varney brings out a whole bunch of the characters that Ernest transforms into in a lot of the other Ernest movies for this as well, because the whole concept hinges on this thing that's essentially a transmogrifier that turns you into a different person if you go into it. So he's constantly going into it and becoming a different character, and it was gloriously 80s and terrible, but still like entertaining. Like I was able to get in the Ernest mindset and just sit there and enjoy it like a little kid. Then finally saw the first real Ernest movie, Ernest Goes to Camp, which is probably the most grounded in reality you'll ever see an Ernest movie, and it was still pretty cartoony.
Yeah, because he still has the blessing of the Native American tribe.
Yeah,
that the camp is built on.
Yeah, where it looks like he's just like impervious to bullets, but it's actually like the bullets are like, if you really like delve into what's actually going on, the bullets are like bending around him like it's fucking wanted or something.
It's weird because all the Ernest films, at least the ones that I've seen, I've only seen like the first 4 or so, always have this degree of the supernatural or the weird science.
Yeah, and it's something that's definitely there. Like he's always kind of like. It's almost like he's like kind of like touched by God. He can be knocked down, but he can never be killed. And it's almost like there's something guiding him around the harm that would otherwise kill him, and things just barely miss him. Or like I said, he's a cartoon, so he barely gets hurt by something that should blow a person to pieces. And then something else that I noticed from this, marathon is that there's also always an element of like man versus machine. Like in pretty much every single movie that he's in, there's always some like weird, like Maximum Overdrive-esque, like a machine comes to life and attacks him. In Ernest Rides Again, it's a buzzsaw that just. It's unplugged from the wall, but still like comes after him. The Ernest Goes to Jail. It's the floor waxer that just has a mind of its own. His garbage truck in Ernest Scared Stupid can control itself even when he pulls the battery out of the remote control. Another thing in Ernest Goes to Jail, he gets electrocuted, and that gives him superpowers. It's great. At one point, he's just super magnetic, and things are attaching to him. A little bit later in the movie, he's fucking Lord Raiden and shooting lightning bolts out of his hands, and then he can fly at the end.
Yeah,
and Jim Varney also like plays 2 characters. He plays Ernest, and he plays this guy Nash, who is the bad guy, and like that was even cooler for me. Watching because they swap places, so it's almost like seeing Ernest become the bad guy. So like it had that element of good guy turned evil that I was just and also the policemen wear purple jackets
with giant shoulders.
Yeah,
it's a weird film. It's again, I would agree. I
highly recommend checking it out.
Though. I would agree with you. Goes to Jail and Scared Stupid are easily my 2 favorite Ernest movies.
My friend Elliot, who's even more into Ernest than I am, he swears by Rides Again, which is pretty good. Half of the movie is a car chase, quote-unquote car chase, because Ernest is on a colonial cannon. like a gigantic colonial cannon that's on wheels, but like he's being chased by cars, and that was really cool. It was like watching the new Mad Max movie.
Just like it.
Yeah,
Tom Hardy should be the new Ernest.
right? They've talked about.
what I mean, Vern?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean, Vern?
Yeah.
But I mean, they've talked about doing a new Ernest movie even before Jim Varney passed away. Unfortunately, back in 2000, they had talked about doing more Ernest movies, and now that he has passed, they're thinking of doing like the son of Ernest or something like that. And part of me,
Ernest having sex.
part of me would really like to see more Ernest movies. Another part of me, the nostalgic part of me, kind of doesn't want to see anyone try to do it except for Jim Varney.
It didn't really work out for the Pink Panther.
Yeah.
That's
Or
true.
The Mask.
Yeah. Oh God, that's even worse.
Speaking of son of blank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or even the Steve Martin Pink Panther films weren't that great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be Peter Sellers or get the fuck out.
Yeah. Although the new Johnny Depp movie Mordecai kind of looks like a remake of Pink Panther, and it looks like it might be good. I kind of want to see it.
all
you, buddy.
All
That's
you.
fine. That's fine. That's fine. I'll go see it at the new theater at Springfield, where I can just sit there and relax.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's supposed to be the start of a franchise.
The official page followed me on Twitter and then stopped following me.
It's
so I don't know.
it's the first Johnny Depp movie that I've been excited to see in probably about 10 years. So
Since
Seaman-
the first Pirates film.
Seaman
Yeah.
Tusk, he's really good in that. That's his best thing he's been in years.
okay.
Yeah. I liked him in Public Enemies.
Yeah, he's really good in that too. That's a
Yeah.
good movie.
Where's
Underrated.
John Dillinger, yeah. Yeah. I mean, what's his name? Jim Varney's last performance? Toy Story 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, did they get like just someone who did an impression for Toy Story 3?
Yeah.
Is that what they did?
Yeah, it was a friend of his. Yeah.
I was like Slinky Dog.
Yeah,
He was one of my favorite toys. Yeah.
And then Mr. Pricklepants came in Toy Story 3. And he's all over.
It was all
It's all out. It's teed out all the way.
Yeah.
Well, Michael Keaton's in that too.
as Ken.
As Ken.
Yeah.
So
That
that's
was,
a murderer's
what would
row
you say
right
is your
there.
favorite Toy Story film?
One. I think one because here you know what's funny? Like so many of my favorite like people have been in the Toy Story movies. Like Kelsey Grammer's in the second one. Like
Yeah,
from Frasier. Like I
Pete, yeah.
love Kelsey Grammer's. Of course Keaton and T. Dalton, and I love Tom Hanks and I guess Tim Allen is an actor on the show Last Man Standing. But
I like Galaxy Quest.
yeah, no, it's good. They have a comic book.
It's
They
the
have a
best Star Trek movie.
They have a comic. There's a comic book going on right now.
The Gauntlet's laid.
Yeah, there's a comic book going on. The
Galaxy Quest
Galaxy
comic?
Quest. Yeah,
Yeah.
The Quest continues. Just came out a little while ago.
Have you been reading the Escape from New York comic?
No, I haven't actually.
Okay.
Um,
I wasn't a big fan of Big Trouble in Little China, so I was
Yeah,
like,
I
I'm
was
not
really
yeah,
disappointed
there's some
with
really
Big
cool
Trouble.
covers for it, but yeah,
Yeah.
I haven't checked
It
out.
would just be the cover art.
Escape. Yeah,
So
Escape from New
that's
York.
what I
So,
was-
Just tear the covers off. For me.
Yeah, I would frame the cover.
Yeah,
I'd be
yeah.
like, cool.
but what the hell were we just talking about?
We were talking about Toy Story.
Story.
Thank you. Sorry, I don't know. Toy Story, the first one I watched so many times, and like I was the prime time age for that.
Mhm.
And 2's good. Like I think some people forget about 2 because 3 is like this powerhouse movie. I mean, and 3 was the most like emotional and satisfying I think overall because that trilogy was like chronicling our age group. You know what I mean? You
We're
know,
roughly the same age.
roughly
as Andy.
the same age as Andy, and so. But I think just the first one, just for the amount of times I spent watching it, and Christmas days when I, with my younger sister, younger brother, and as we got older, you'd throw it on here and there. I think the first one just overall, but there isn't a bad Toy Story movie, in my opinion.
They're all
They're all solid.
It's tough.
It is
It's tough. I mean,
But
nostalgia
one is
might-
my gut, so.
Yeah, I might say 2.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I really like 2. My problem with 3 is I don't like how in 2 they're all like, we're never going to get rid of these toys. Like, that's the big gist.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going to sell them at a yard sale. We're not going to sell, like, the penguin and all that shit. Like, we're not going to sell Wheezy. In the beginning of 3, Wheezy's been sold.
Yeah.
Bo Peep's been
Bo
sold.
Peep's out.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going
Lil
hardcore.
Weezy?
Yes, Lil Wheezy.
Yes, The Carter 3. Or is that Wheezy? Okay, yeah. So here's the. Do you like that fan theory that Sid is the garbage man in Toy Story 3?
I don't really give a shit.
Because
I give almost as much of a shit as the Punisher being in Captain America: The Winter Soldier, except that one almost pisses me off.
Because there's literally no evidence.
Yeah.
the Sid thing was cool. I remember reading an article about it, and they said, Sid in the first movie was obviously the villain. Because he burns toys and blows them up and puts them together and stuff. But you can see that he also has like this creative side. He's able to put toys together. Is that, and again, this is all fan theory stuff.
Just like Jigsaw.
Exactly.
Yeah. Just like Jeffrey Dahmer.
And so
or Ed Gein. He was able to make furniture.
he sees the toys in real life. So he's one of the few kids who actually sees that the toys actually are alive and are living beings. And so his thing is that he was scared shitless about it. He leaves, runs away, blah, blah, blah. And I remember the theory was that he becomes a trash man because he's so affected by seeing toys that are living things. They're not things to blow up and destroy. That he can. If someone's going to throw away a toy and get rid of this quote unquote this living, kind of thing, you're going to throw it away. And what's one way you can get your hands on stuff that's going to be thrown away? You become a trash man. And he keeps these toys. And one of the big theories is when you see him in the movie with the skull shirt, listening to the music, he's a happy guy again. He's banging along to the music, having fun, blah, 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 because he's become, sounds ridiculous, quote unquote, like this savior for these toys that are being thrown away. And it's like life had been turned around. And he's no longer this guy who destroys toys, but he saves the toys. He's the savior of the toys. That's what Sid does. That's what Sid is.
Unfortunately, I've only ever seen the first Toy Story.
The fuck out of here.
Well, when the second one,
everything I just said meant fuck all.
Yeah.
You could stop me at any moment.
Thanks.
instead of having this insane rant about
radio.
Sid.
It was good radio.
Okay.
But yeah,
talk about Gilmore
spoilers.
Girls or something.
But yeah, no. When the second one came out, I was like kind of in a anti Disney cartoon movie.
How the fuck do you do? How do you get to that point?
I just like not anti, but I was just like, I don't want.
Fuck you, Mickey Mouse, for being happy all the time.
I don't want this. It's a kids movie.
What are you whistling about, Steamboat Willie? Stop it.
Wow. Okay. Way to take it back to the first Mickey Mouse appearance ever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Going classic.
That's right. I love Steamboat Willie.
It's a terrible short.
What the fuck is happening? How is it a terrible short?
I'm
Steamboat Willie.
Just being confrontational.
Okay.
Boy, oh boy. I'm just sitting here just like, I turn into Henry Kissinger.
That's so gay. That's such a great little, totally out of there.
It's me we're talking about. It's all going to be out there.
Yeah, well, that's why we love it.
Mm.
So anyway.
But yeah.
So then, and then
go back to hatred of great things.
I never.
You hate everything Disney. That's the last thing you just said. Go, keep going.
You did say you were in a phase where you were like very anti-Disney.
Yeah.
I never. Anyway, I had no interest in watching a kids movie.
Okay.
And that's what I deemed Toy Story as. And then when the third one came out, people were like, "Oh, it's so good," and like I was getting, I got into the point where I was like, I don't need to. I don't need to flaunt how adult or masculine I am, whatever. And then I heard that it's like a very emotional and tear-jerking thing, and I was like, I am not in the right place emotionally to see such a sad movie. And also, I haven't seen 2 yet, so I'm gonna hold off until I'm ready to do it. And then I've just never gotten around to watching them.
They're fun.
They're good. They're among Pixar's best. I would say Pixar's kind of had a bit of a downturn, unfortunately. Cars 2, Brave. Brave is better than Cars 2.
I never saw Brave or Cars 2.
Brave was it was all right.
I liked
it was no Toy Story.
Wreck-It Ralph.
Oh, I loved
Wreck-It Ralph. Way more than
that's Walt Disney proper, yeah.
Yeah, I liked it way more than not way more, that's not fair. I liked it more than
Big Hero
6.
Did you ever none of us have still seen Frozen, right?
No, I've not seen Frozen.
Yeah,
no.
Fair enough.
That could be it could be number 1.
It could.
It could be all time.
It could be the best. It could be better than Toy Story.
It could. Now,
we'll never know.
I never said best Pixar.
Yeah.
What would you say is the best Pixar?
Wall-E.
Okay. I'm The Incredibles hits all the things that I look for.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Superheroes, Bond influence. For some reason, like 60s era stuff, I'm like, oh man,
I remember that shit.
Yeah.
Henry Kissinger. So we'll have Henry Kissinger, Stallone, and who will be your mumbling?
Ray Romano.
Okay. The
Mumble.
Mumbles from
Dick Tracy. Fair enough. That's going to be a podcast. Look out for that, guys.
I did it.
Big Ray.
But yeah, so what would you say is the best Pixar?
No, I'm probably gonna go with you on this one, saying The Incredibles.
Yeah.
Are they working on a sequel for that, right?
Yes.
I've always heard about it. They've
And
Brad Bird.
Mm-hmm.
And there's it's not getting a sequel, but Ratatouille is getting something.
Okay.
Ratatouille for me is like the big unsung, the forgotten Pixar film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorites. That I think Wally certainly hits the.
I like the music from Wall-E.
Wally's great, and for me, good. Look, I'm all about.
It slows down a bit once he gets into the ship.
and I'm all about being good to the planet and stuff. But for me, that wasn't like the main draw, the environmental thing, which I think of course is important. We're living on a planet, but like. Yes, that's the most like
what?
That's the most bland, stupid thing. Of course, we're living on a planet. Preach it, brother Jake.
I'm pretty sure Earth is a star.
Okay. Well, we're living on something.
Yeah.
We're living on spaceship Earth.
We're living on we're living on an island Earth.
Yeah, we're just
floating.
Yeah.
Henry Kissinger
you didn't
is
see this,
driving us all over the place.
Sam just did a wet noodle wiggle with his hand when he was like, "We're living on a,"
Yeah.
and then just kind of did this hand motion.
Well, I didn't know how to describe it. I was like, so were we like?
I mean, I saw it, and it was perfect. I was like, that's exactly what we're doing.
Yeah, we're scattered in space, but I didn't
We're
know
all
how to.
made of stars.
We're just
Yeah.
there,
Oh,
man. We're there.
Pale blue dot and shit.
Yeah. Oh,
So
man.
we're there.
Give me that Carl Sagan.
We're floating through space. But the thing I like about Wall-E is
Space is
the first
floating
third,
through us.
the
man.
first third of the movie. There's like no dialogue.
Yeah.
It's just this robot.
Occasional Fred Willard and clips from Hello Dolly.
Yeah, it's just this robot, and I love because like Pixar, like all those guys, they're so great at telling a story with this animation, and that's what's made Walt Disney great through the years, Chris. Because I know you hate Walt Disney so much, like that's just made Walt Disney such a great thing.
Even now, even I'm gonna have to jump to his defense and be like, it's just a period.
But well, yeah, I know it's just for fun.
Yeah,
That's why I didn't defend myself, because I was like, it's funny.
Yeah.
Let him,
But,
let him have you.
let him take a shot.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
5.
I can take it, boss. Just cut me.
But
You gotta kill me because
I can't see it in my eye. But being able to tell,
Oh, fuck, Walt. Degenerating into an impression.
yeah, but being able to tell a story through animation is obviously what makes Pixar great and Disney stuff great. And I think Wall-E's a great example of
Is that what makes them great?
I think.
Yeah.
What was the?
I think so.
honestly-
Was Up Pixar?
Yes.
Up is great too.
Yeah, that's a good
Now
one.
you're talking emotionally wrecking.
I know,
Pixar.
right?
Christ
That
almighty.
that was how I knew I was starting to get better, because I saw Up and I was like, okay, I'm
Whoa,
not
whoa, whoa.
suicidal
You
anymore.
turned into John Travolta. You're like, oh, then I saw Up, and I was like, oh my god. And then I was like, oh my god, I don't hate the Disney
Up
anymore.
your nose through a
rubber
rubber
hose. Hey, Mr. Goddamn,
Hey.
I don't hate it anymore. I'm glad you don't hate Disney anymore, Chris. Welcome back.
I still hate Disney.
Okay. Welcome back, Mr. Chris.
This is like a 50s motion, right?
Yeah,
This
yeah.
arm thing that I'm doing.
Yeah.
Probably killing you all with like my armpit odor.
Just waving
Yeah,
it.
wafting it.
Yeah,
Half
yeah.
my beard just fell off.
Yeah, I have no more nose hair. The
That's probably for the best.
yeah,
Now you can take shits and not worry about it.
With nose hair?
nose hair.
I don't know. Nose hairs. That's.
Is that the key factor from like
for the smell.
A is the nose hair down to
How
Z
the
the asshole? Is that what?
Are we?
nose hairs? It helps. It helps your sense of smell because it absorbs. Never mind. Whatever.
That's true. That's
Yeah,
fair
enough.
enough.
yeah.
Yeah. With the olfactory.
Yeah. Carl Sagan and shit.
Yes.
What?
Yes.
He wasn't a biologist.
Yeah, he's all about human anatomy now too.
The hair, the nose hairs is made of star stuff. Carl Sagan.
Yeah. We are all Stardust.
Bears beats Battlestar Galactica.
That's gonna be the name of this week's
Bear
episode.
season, yeah.
No,
Oh,
not
Bear-
we are all
Star-
Stardust.
Oh.
Yeah, Ziggy Stardust.
It was either that or I was
Or the
going to call
movie
it the
Stardust.
Crisis on Infinite Secret Wars, which might
Yeah.
get us more hits from the comic book crowd.
Probably.
This is me thinking out loud.
Yeah.
That's
guys.
fine. It's good radio.
Yeah.
That's
gotta-
what we do. We think out loud.
We
got
got
to
to fill up like another half hour. so-
Yeah. Maybe this one won't go for an hour and a
Yeah,
half.
who knows?
Yeah, you'll find out.
It's a very fluid podcast.
Very stream of consciousness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, I think last week it started almost tipping past an hour and a half just because we were on a roll.
Yeah, because I was talking my Beatles fan fiction.
And we were all like, yes.
Yeah.
Where's
yeah.
the slash?
Yeah. When did? Oh, yeah. When the
And then Mr. Glove comes in.
yeah,
Oh.
yeah, the groovy glove.
Glove.
Oh, what? Yeah.
And then David Lee Roth comes in and saves the day.
Yeah. It's my ultimate. Yeah, that's like I do a version of the Rocking Roller Coaster where it's not just Aerosmith, but they team up with all the like 70s and 80s bands.
Throw in a little bit of Revolution X too.
Yeah, they have to fight this Yellow Jacket themed gang by throwing CDs at them. Yeah. Revolution X, man. I remember seeing that in because I used to read Game Pro magazines in the 90s because they had all the coolest cheats and tricks and that sort of thing. So I was like, oh, how am I going to beat like X game? How am I going to beat Michael Jordan Chaos in the Windy City on the Super Nintendo? It's actually not that hard. But when I was a kid, I don't know, have you ever experienced that where you revisit games you played as a kid?
Oh yes.
And when you were a kid, they were like the fucking hardest game on earth.
Oh yes.
And I guess your reflexes improve.
Yeah,
or you're just better at like problem solving.
Yeah, or eye-hand coordination or whatever.
I busted out my Game Gear, and I was playing a Sonic game, and it was a boss fight that when I was a kid, the game was the shortest game in the world to me because whenever I got to this boss fight, it was dead city, going nowhere. Turn the game off in frustration and go to bed. And I got to that level again. My heart was like racing. I'm like, this is a couple years ago. I was like 25 years old, like freaking out of the Sonic game, not moving my Game Gear because if I move it too fast, it shuts off because it's old as fuck. But I got to the boss level and I beat it in like 2 seconds. And I was like, what the fuck? And then I got to the next level and I couldn't beat the next level. So maybe in another 25
you weren't
I wasn't
familiar
familiar
with it.
So maybe in another 25 years, I'm like 50.
I could never, as a kid, beat Super Mario World. Now I can beat that game within 2 hours.
Nice. I remember I came home from. I think I was working at Baltimore Comic-Con, and I came home, and you were sitting upstairs on the Nintendo, and you said something. You're like, "I am the supreme Mario, motherfucker. I fucked this shit up, mother." And you said something kind of great Samism about and you didn't even turn around to like look back at me. You heard the door open, and you were like, "I am."
It could have been my dad visiting for all.
You were like, "I am the Mario master."
All bitches lay down to me.
Yeah, I'm gonna lay some pipe. I think that's my new favorite expression for having sex.
It's the second time you said it.
Laying pipe, yeah.
You've had enough pipe laid in your house recently.
Yes, and in my ass.
Hey, you said it, not me.
We've already established my stance on. Anyway,
anything goes.
Yeah, any which way but loose.
Anything goes,
or any which way you can.
Nobody does it better.
But I could never beat Super Mario 64 as a kid. Now I can beat that. I don't know why I'm better. Here's the thing: I was never particularly good at the first Sonic game. Sonic 2, I'm all right. Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Sonic the Hedgehog 3, Sonic and Knuckles, Sonic CD. But the first Sonic game, on my own, I can't get past Marble Zone. That's the second world. I fucking suck at Sonic the Hedgehog. And as somebody that plays video games I'm pretty well versed on video games.
Yeah.
That's kind of that's what brings it all back. It's like, don't get too ahead of yourself.
Yeah, don't get cocky. That's your don't get cocky moment.
Whenever you're like, I'm laying so much pipe
I am
in
the
Super
Mario
Mario.
Master.
You're like, okay, fine. Sonic 1.
Yeah.
And you're like,
I just hold that in front of you, Sam, and you're like, motherfucker.
One of these days, I'm going to because I own every single Sonic game.
Sonic Legends.
Okay, let me rephrase. I own every single Sonic game for the Sega Genesis. So that includes Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, Sonic Spinball, Sonic's 3D Blast. I've got it.
Sonic CD.
I do have Sonic CD.
Ooh.
The thing is, well, I'm just
I knew it. Don't even say it, Chris. He's gonna go. The thing is.
Yeah. There it is. Yeah.
Thanks.
I got you.
Sorry, I can't hear. Yeah. I can't hear.
I know. Well, it's funny. I hear you saying it now in my head.
Yes.
So.
But my point is, I'm going to practice Sonic the Hedgehog until I beat fucking Marble Zone.
Nice.
That's what I need to do. One of these days.
Hunker down.
I'm not actually going to do it.
Bear down.
but maybe just for the sake of my own manhood, so I can look at myself in the mirror. And
look at your manhood.
I knew what you were about to say.
Involve pipe.
Yeah.
Next time you're laying pipe, you're gonna be like, but I'm just not good enough at Sonic.
I can't beat Marvel World.
You just leave right in the middle, and the girl's like, "Huh?
I can't beat Marvel World.
I can't beat Marble Zone. I'm not good enough for you. I'm sorry, honey. Sorry.
Just
I'm
throw in
so
the
sorry.
You can do better.
Yeah.
Nobody does."
But yeah, one of these days.
You know what game I want to replay? And I think a lot of it has to do with the Western talk that I've been having for a couple of podcasts. Gun.
Oh. Yes.
I have that game. I can't find it. But it's, what a fucking awesome game. Thomas Jane did the voice.
Yes.
I recently, not recently, probably a year or so ago, replayed Red Dead Revolver, which is a great game.
Yes.
And then Red Dead Redemption's like pretty much my all-time, definitely my favorite 360 game, maybe my all-time favorite game of all time, just because that is like just a cinematic beast of a game. Frustrating as shit at times, but it's a great game. So
Now,
Yeah.
Chris is showing this comic book image of Thanos taking on Patsy Walker Hellcat in a Thanos copter. I actually saw that back issue in the back bins back before they had the big back issue sale, and now I wish I bought it, because in that issue, it's Spider-Man and Hellcat keeping the Cosmic Cube away from Thanos, who has his own helicopter.
The Thanos copter.
Yeah.
It's from a tweet from James Gunn, and he's like, "Whoa, can't wait to see this Thanos copter in the MCU."
I kind of want to...
since they're, doing the Secret Wars, maybe
I
it'll.
love how much fun he's having with all of this.
Yeah.
Right. He's probably acting the same way that I would if I, had done the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, he's if you think about it, this is huge, because he used to just do, indie film or like low budget knockoffs, like whatever that fucking thing was.
Well, he did Slither.
Slither.
I love
Oh,
Slither.
Yeah. Super, and now he's doing his first big budget film is the second highest grossing domestic film of 2014. That's
Lance and Pipe.
yeah. That's kudos on your pipe. Kudos on your pipe, James Gunn.
But kudos on your pipe.
But kudos.
But kudos.
But kudos. Let's see how much that issue of Spider-Man's going for.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
Oh wait, no.
This is great radio.
This is fantastic radio. We are laying pipe in this.
I
radio.
have a new Deadpool mug.
I like how we were so searching for something to talk about, and I just see Chris scanning the room, and he looks down. He's, I have a new mug.
It's the shape of Deadpool's head, and I drink his brains.
Well, I bought a Superman pin.
Yeah,
It's
nice.
on my jacket.
Is that a Funko Pop?
No, it kind of looks like a pop Superman.
Yeah.
But it's cool. I like
Yeah.
represents Superman.
Yeah.
Sam and I watched RoboCop 2 on Netflix.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's
$40. God damn
Oh
it!
shit, son.
Should have bought it.
I should have, because it was like only $7.
You know what I totally forgot about in RoboCop 2?
Hmm.
I think I mentioned this when I was talking about the reboot, that he never sees his family again. He totally does. I forgot about that in RoboCop 2 for like an unresolved period. He sees his wife.
Yeah, no, he's basically like stalking his wife.
He's like,
and
you touch my face, and she
Yeah.
does, and then he's like, I'm not your husband, and then that's it.
Yeah.
2 is ridiculous, over the top. Sam and I had a lot of laughs rewatching it.
Much like the movie Over the Top.
Yes, which I own.
Me too.
But here's the thing. I forgot about the scene when the kid gets shot and dies.
Oh yeah.
And it's actually like a really good scene when the kid's like, "Don't leave me," and RoboCop's like, "I won't." And then he just sits there and like, why is the kid's like, afraid to die, even though he's like the bad guy, one of the bad guys.
He shoots RoboCop in the head in the opening scene.
Yeah. But RoboCop still has
You
this.
can't kill a kid.
Yeah, RoboCop still has this like, kind of the that human side, and he like watches this kid die. And I was like, holy shit! Wait a minute.
Where do you think RoboCop 2 goes wrong?
Oh man.
Killing Frank Miller.
Well, I think.
Who's Frank? His
I think
character name is Frank.
trying to make RoboCop 2 and making him obsolete. Like I want to,
Yeah.
I want to see more of the rise of Robo. The first one is the rise of RoboCop, but immediately he's insignificant, and also, having a RoboCop 2. Let's just have the natural, the there's just another thing going on in RoboCop saving the day, and
Yeah.
maybe more of because I think what RoboCop, getting to that point, it tries to redo some of the things one did so well with the satire and cops on strike, and it's not bringing anything new to the table.
The thing that I really liked about RoboCop 2, which I think was one of the biggest influences Frank Miller had on the script, was the whole making RoboCop the character PG, like dummy, like the focus group trying to make suggestions about how he can be improved, and then that just like completely fucking his system because he's now he's like contradicting himself.
He tries to lecture the Little League robbers,
and he's like, "Lovely moon out."
Yeah,
right?
It's daytime, Murphy. It's the thought that counts.
Oh God, we're going back to the station.
Yeah,
where he reads the rights to the dead man.
Yeah.
You have the right to remain silent. Like, that's a dead man you're talking to, and he turns. He's like, and like drops the guy.
Yeah, like that.
You can tell Peter Weller hated.
Yeah, pretty much. But
that's where I think it went right, because I feel like that would be a logical progression.
Well, yeah, bringing in the to make him PG and whatnot. I think I don't know. There's some. I mean, there's some parts.
I've never understood why they're RoboCop 2, because if you have never seen the movie, the OCP, the evil corporation, literally builds another RoboCop that they dub RoboCop 2.
Yeah,
I never understood why they picked a serial killer.
Yeah, that is mind-blowing to me.
Because they knew they could control him with that drug, whatever the hell, nuke.
Yeah, the nuke.
Like that. Well, that was their reasoning. I'm not saying it was
so
right.
we can control our newest machine with an illegal drug that we're trying to get off the street. Like, that's dumb.
Well, remember, they were, to that point, they were campaigning to legalize.
Yeah, I know, but like, it was
legal nuke.
How the fuck did they think PR-wise that was a good move? We have the brain of a serial killer that we're controlling with our narcotic.
That looks like Andros if you take the hard path in Star Fox 64.
Yeah. So there are some really funny fucked up parts in it, like when they're showing the other RoboCops, and the one walks in and he just rips his own head off and goes, "Ah!" and it just dies.
It was kind of like the scene in Iron Man 2 where they're showing all the different countries.
All the faulty Iron Man.
Yeah.
I love the first one. It like shoots.
Oh yeah, it shoots one of the scientists, shoots the other scientist, and then shoots himself in the head.
It looked like when Tugger, Russell Crowe's steamboat, shoots himself in South Park.
Yeah. Oh, you testicle. Yeah, RoboCop 2 goes wrong in a lot of ways.
It's still better than RoboCop 3.
Well, Diamonds Are Forever is better than RoboCop 3. Beyond Thunderdome is better than RoboCop 3. Wild West is better than RoboCop 3. And that takes a lot because
that's on that's recorded.
That is recorded.
Waterworld?
Ooh.
Nope.
Nah.
I take RoboCop 3 over Waterworld.
Yeah, I would rather watch Samurai RoboCops
because at least you get
Jetpack RoboCop.
Yeah,
at least it makes sense.
At least you get him, and at least you get RoboCop in the suit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, you don't get RoboCop in the suit in Waterworld.
No, you don't get him in Westworld. What the fuck?
Yeah.
I'm going to like.
That's true. You don't.
Yeah,
get
I'm
him
going
in
to.
You do get what's his name in Westworld?
Yul Brynner?
Yeah, you do get Yul Brynner as a robot cop.
Mm-hmm.
But not in Future. No, he's in Future World.
He's the only crossover
returning character.
Yeah.
Directed
RoboCop
by Michael Crichton. Continue.
Written by Michael Crichton.
Yeah.
First, Westworld was his first script.
Oh, that's the
But I mean,
I don't think he directed it though.
he directed one of them.
Yeah.
RoboCop 2 is fun. I mean, I remember when it was done. I remember being like, you know what, it's fine. I had always joked, I was like, what a stupid movie, but I had to rewatch it again, and I had a good time watching it again. It's fine.
They also have a comic adaptation of it, right?
Mm-hmm. It's they did, which I have, which is based on Frank Miller's original script. He has nothing to do with it outside of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then they did his original script for RoboCop 3, and it's right now it was broken into 2 trade paperbacks, RoboCop: The Last Stand Part 1 and 2. The RoboCop 2 like is so freaking violent and metal and crazy and just out there. The idea of another RoboCop is in there, but yeah, it was fun to watch RoboCop 2 again. It's on Netflix finally. It was. I remember the time I wanted to watch it, they took it off. Yeah, so was 3.
You could have just borrowed the Blu-rays from me.
That's true.
I have all 3.
Watch the reboot if you haven't watched it, guys. I enjoy it. I think it's still the one thing it holds over the original is the relationship with the family, and it makes it interesting.
And the fact that he still has his human hand.
Yeah, so he can shake people's hands, even though here's something weird about that. So I was all on board. Fine, give him the rope, give him the human hand because that's the hand he uses to fire the weapon. And when he meets like politicians and kids and other people, he shakes their hand with the human hand for a human contact. When he shakes people's hands in that movie, he uses his robot hand. So I don't know what the point of that was. It's not like a big thing. It happens like once or twice. But I thought the suits were pretty cool. I thought the silver suit in the reboot was cool. The black one grew on me at first when I saw it. I was like, I mean,
he
like
wanted it to be more tactical.
But yeah, keep making it black.
And then later that year, he would go on to be in Birdman.
Yeah, later. Yeah, hopefully Oscar winner.
He goes evil so fast.
He turns on a dime in that movie, man. Like, I mean, it's no secret that he's the villain, but damn, like the whole time you're like, okay, blah blah blah, and then.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah, kind of like Jamie Foxx in Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm your biggest fan, Spider-Man. And then
fuck you. Yeah. We have to have the music tell us, you know.
Yeah, the Pharrell.
He hates me.
Yeah. You trusted him.
I mean, to be fair, he was a fanatic. And
fanboy gone wrong.
Yeah, in real life,
just like Reverse Flash, man.
Yeah.
Just like the Reverse
I mean,
Flash.
it's Batman Forever. Batman Forever,
Mark
Riddler
David Chapman.
syndrome. Yeah. But in RoboCop, it's
it's pretty.
What the heck?
It's pretty abrupt.
What the heck's going on here?
Yeah.
I guess I'll have to see it.
Yeah. It's good.
Is it on Netflix yet?
No, I own it.
Let us know what you think of the yodeling sequence.
Yeah. And let us know what you think of the insane turn. And again, it's not like he's good the entire movie. It's clear he's the bad guy from
the trailer.
But it's like he goes like boom.
He's like, yeah, it's
weird. And I love Michael Keaton. That's weird.
What else was in Michael Keaton? I feel like he was a bad guy in another movie this year.
Oh, he was in Need for Speed, which I didn't see.
Yeah,
and you know what's bad? When they had we were at Target and they had like the Need for Speed book. What the fuck am I talking about? The Need for Speed DVD, and he's nowhere to be found on the front cover. Like, not the picture. I'm not like his name is nowhere to be on it. Like, and Michael Keaton. He's one of those guys that forever, all of time, if he's in the movie for 5 seconds, deserves that. And Michael Keaton. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's he's not on the Need for Speed.
Yeah, I had no idea that he was in it until you guys just said it.
I saw one trailer like that was on. They had this big one they were circulating a lot, but they had one where he showed up, and I was like, hey, it's Keats, as Jack Nicholson calls him. Yeah. So. Yeah. There's some Michael Keaton for you.
There you have it, gang. What have we learned?
Who knows?
Absolutely nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
Read a comic book because you love it.
We've learned that Chris hates Disney.
That's true. Chris hates Disney.
Chris hates Disney.
Passion.
Continuity doesn't matter.
Nope.
You're in mid-thought?
I was going to say something that I probably would regret about burning down Disney World.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I retract that.
Chris hates Disney. I suck at Sonic the Hedgehog. Comic book continuity doesn't matter. And RoboCop 2, not that bad. And Ernest Goes to Jail is the best Ernest movie.
It is. Yeah. Hands down. Hands down.
Real quick, as we're wrapping it up.
Yes.
Is there a comic book you guys are reading or something new that you're reading? Maybe not even like that's new that's out right now. Just a book or character you're reading. I'll start because I'm starting off this Psycho thing. I'm starting to read Jonah Hex for the first time. I've never read really any Jonah Hex.
Great stuff.
And it's right now, from what I'm reading, it feels a lot like Outlaw Josie Wales, which is awesome.
Yeah, he kind of looks like Eastwood, right?
Yeah, he does. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's weird. His face, it's kind of like Two-Face. They always have different kind of things.
Yeah.
The one constant is like that strand of skin hanging over his teeth.
Yeah.
Can he talk to the dead?
No, that's only in the movie.
Well, then I don't want to read it.
It's like the spirit. Like the spirit
healing factor.
Yeah,
the
Wolverine-esque
healing factor.
So I couldn't finish Jonah Hex to be fair. The movie I couldn't do it. So.
I've been reading in addition to my usual monthly books like Batman or Swamp Thing or Spider-Man, like Spider-Verse and all that.
Yeah.
I've been rereading Joss Whedon's run on Astonishing X-Men.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's a good run.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
I'd forgotten. Astonishing.
I had forgotten how good it was.
Unfortunately, I've been really backed up with a money situation, so I haven't been able to hit up the comic book shop in a while. What was I reading? That I was the
You were
Flash
on the
is
Batman
pretty good.
Eternal stuff, right?
Yeah. Oh man. Oof. I love Batman Eternal. James Tynion the Fourth and Scott Snyder and all the rest of them are doing an amazing job on Batman Eternal. So hopefully that's still that's still true. I'm like a month or so behind.
It's still selling really well.
Yeah.
So
I've been enjoying it.
good. Well, that's not a ringing endorsement.
Yeah.
Then
I mean, well, you'll find out.
Yeah.
You'll find out about the plot.
yeah,
Okay. But yeah, so watch those movies. Maybe.
read those books.
Read those books.
Yep.
Keep fighting the good fight.
that's right.
And laying down the good pipe.
Thank you very much. There's your catchphrase, buddy.
Were you rehearsing that in your head?
I wish.